All right, it is 7 o'clock. We're going to call the meeting to order. First thing is our flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Okay, Ms. Bollenbacher.
Here.
Mr. Chandler,
Here.
Ms. Compatello,
Here.
Mr. Hof is
Here.
online. Thank you. Ms. Kalnick is absent tonight. And Mr. Oliveira has resigned. I'm sorry,
No.
Mr. Oliveira, sorry, jeez. Mr. Oliveira.
Here.
Mr. Adilla has resigned. Mayor Perry,
Here.
Solicitor Corbel.
We know he's here.
Yeah, just,
I am here.
thank you. Engineer Keenan
Here.
and myself, we do have a quorum.
Great. For the consent agenda, we have the approval of the council meeting minutes from February 27th, 2025, and also the bill list from March 13th of 2025. And these are both on the OneDrive for everybody to view. Any questions or comments from council? All right, we need a motion to approve the March 13th, 2025 consent agenda, pending bill list approval by the borough president, manager, and treasurer.
Some.
Ms.
Second.
Bollenbacher, Ms. Compatello, any comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. At this time, citizens may address the Crafton Borough Council on any issue appearing on today's agenda. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Crafton will be permitted to address the council. Comments on non-agenda items will be taken at the end of tonight's meeting. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before the council, who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Council has the option to respond or not at the end of the address. The solicitors are assigned timekeeper, and please state your name and physical address for the record. Do we have anybody signed in? Mike?
Nobody signed in.
Okay. If you're online, you can raise your hand. All right. We'll move on to the president's report. So as Mr. Price alluded and as is on the agenda, we do have an open council seat. Mr. Radilla is moving out of Crafton, so that automatically doesn't allow him to be a council member. So we have, I want to go through the process for this, but first I want to read his note that he sent with the resignation. It says, I'm writing to officially give my resignation from Crafton Borough Council. I can truly say that the decision to leave Crafton has been one of the hardest decisions that I've ever had to make. But at the end of the day, my family will always come first. I am going to deeply miss being on council and all the friends I have made along the way. I am very proud of the progress we have made for Crafton, and it has been inspiring to work with the council. We all have different opinions and backgrounds, but we all are able to work together to make sure we are setting Crafton up for success. So that's Mr. Padilla. He won't be attending, obviously, any more council meetings, but that does leave now an open seat for council. And I want to go through the process for this. We established this several years ago for the appointment, and this is as many public residents have the ability to apply and go through the process in order to get appointed for council. So I'll go through that, and that's on the agenda here. The eligibility is for any Crafton resident that's been here for 1 year with no felony conviction. We will start advertising starting tomorrow. It will be on our website. The application will be on our website. We'll also be doing social media, Facebook, our website pages. All of that will have the information and Savvy Citizen. So that will go out there. Applications, they must be completed online by March 23rd at 4 o'clock. So filling out the application online, and then it will be routed at 4 o'clock. On the March 27th council meeting, which is our next council meeting, we will have in-person public interviews. So each candidate will come up to the podium, present for up to 5 minutes, and then council will do a Q&A with that candidate. So we can ask as many questions as we like, go through the whole process. Then after each candidate is, or all the candidates are completed, council will vote. And it's up to council to vote or delay the vote if they like. And then there would be a resolution pending an affidavit showing the residency of that candidate. Mayor would swear in the council person and they would take their seat on council. The term will expire at the end of this year. Vince's seat was to expire at the end of this year, and his seat is open for next year as part of the election. So this term would only last from the time they were appointed till December 31st of this year. All right, so let me see if any of my other notes here for this. That part of the process is also a vote by council to accept the resignation, and we have 45 days to do that. And then after the resignation is accepted, we have 30 days to appoint the new council person. Okay. Any questions by council? Okay. All right. We look forward to people applying for that open seat. That's all I have for my report. Mayor's report.
I don't have anything particular tonight to Crafton, but I did really want to mention an opportunity that I had on my most recent trip, which was to visit the Omaha Landing Beach in Normandy and the American Cemetery there, and it was perhaps the most moving experience that I've had. The National Monuments Commission that takes care of those sites just does an amazing job. And if anyone ever gets the opportunity to be in Normandy, France, I recommend it highly. Outside of that, nothing particular to Crafton. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, solicitor's report, Mr. Corbin.
Have no public report this evening, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Engineer's report, Mr. Keenan.
All right, good evening. First item, the Broadhead Sewer Project. Just want to recap that this did receive EPA approval. We're currently on standby to go out to bid pending an on-site meeting that's going to be taking place tomorrow at the Perrine Street property with the property owner and the attorneys. They want to look at the property and discuss the project a little more before giving their final say off on signing off on the construction easement. But should know more by next meeting. Next time, the Ewing Road, we did receive the alternatives analysis from Gateway that had a bunch of options on it to mediate the subsidence on Ewing Road. Those options were introduced to the infrastructure committee this past Monday. Right now, we're still assessing the different options, and we're gonna have some further discussion, I think, at the next meeting. But the options include rebuilding Ewing Road in a few different ways, as well as constructing a new road down by the Public Works building. Questions on that? Next item is the C20 sewer separation project. As mentioned before, this is expected to begin. It will begin on Monday, March 17th. The first part of the work is just preliminary. They're gonna be doing ground penetrating radar, utility coordinations, some saw cutting, with the actual excavation work to begin in early April. The impacted roads with this project include Steuben Street, Linden Avenue, and Duncan Avenue. This work notification will also be part of a Savvy post that will be going out tomorrow. Just be on the lookout for that.
Go ahead. I don't know. I'll tell you what I was gonna ask. Did we confirm that they are in fact gonna be starting at the bottom of the shed and moving up, like starting on Steuben or starting on Duncan and moving up?
Correct. They want to start on Duncan first,
Okay,
that section, and then they're gonna move over to Linden and Steuben.
okay.
Yeah.
What portion of Duncan, because it crosses?
Duncan just between Maxwell and Steuben.
Yeah.
That portion only.
And Savvy, the only notice.
We can put it on Facebook too.
Yeah.
If
I think
decided.
It would be good to highlight a colored section of where the roads would be affected. Because like I said, Duncan's long, Linden's long, and of course Steuben's long street. So
Sure.
we'll make sure to have that where the construction is going to happen.
Yeah, I have that called out in the Savvy post that will be going out tomorrow as
Yeah.
well.
And that is not, these are not complete road closures, so they still have access, unlike Ewing that we did last year when you had no access, or 2 years ago, I guess.
Okay.
Thanks.
Next item, the Public Works Building. The last update was the sanitary sewer lateral was being constructed. That work has been completed and televised and tested, and it's good to go. The next step is to complete the interior of the building, making that ready for occupation. Right now, we're still making some final decisions on this, but we're looking to go out to bid in the next few weeks. Next time, the 2025 sewer O&M repairs program. This has been out to bid, but is now closed. We did receive some early notices on the lowest bidders, but are waiting for the letter of recommendation from Gateway for each of the contracts. The preliminary results for the lowest bids include for the spot lining contract, State Pipe at $127,000. The mantle-to-mantle lining contract, Jet Jack, $336,000, and the excavation contract, Roto-Rooter at $265,000. Moving on to the 2025 sewer CCTV program. This is currently out to bid, and just wanted to state that this program consists of surveying, televising approximately 10% of the borough sewers, which will then be used to determine the sewer repairs for the following year. Just to clarify on those two relations. But moving on, the Station Street retaining wall, we did receive the new retaining wall options. Those were introduced to the infrastructure committee at the last meeting. We did receive 3 different options. 2 of them are unit block wall style. One is a soldier pile on panel style. But we're still going to be discussing these moving forward and probably come to a decision at the next meeting or 2. Next is the People's Gas Main work. This is related to the work up on North Linwood, Coulter, and North Emily Streets. The sidewalk restoration work has begun. The end is expected to take approximately 2 weeks to complete. Moving on to the Linwood Noble Parks. The Linwood survey we did receive from the surveyor, but we still have yet to receive the complete survey for Noble Park. Expecting to get that in the next week. Moving on is the 2025 road paving and brick plan. Brick plan consists of doing some improvements to the brick roads in the borough this year. There's some budget for that. There's going to be an assessment done this spring to assess the areas to focus on the most. And the road paving. This consists of roads that were to be paved last year but moving into this year, as well as roads from the Broadhead Sewer Separation Project. And the Broadhead Sewer Separation Project, the roads impacted include Belvedere, Broadhead, Coulter, North Emily, Park, Warren, Cornell, and North Linwood. And to recap, the remaining roads to be paved are Home Avenue, Sterrett Street, where the utility work took place, Rush Way between Perrine and Sterrett Street, Newville Way, and Prince Alley. Any questions on that?
Were these were the roads that council approved payment last year?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's already been paid for.
It has not been paid for, but it was budgeted to be added this year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Good. Next item is the permit applications. This is discussing the newly received permit applications for street utility work. Moving forward, I will add them onto the agenda, but for tonight's purposes, I'll just list them for you. People's Gas received on March 11th for the sidewalk restoration. Again, this is for North Linwood, North Emily, and Coulter Street. Expected to take 2 weeks. We also received a permit application from Duquesne Light to put in a new utility pole, approximate location at 198 Chartiers Avenue. We received that March 3rd. And one item that was not put on here, but I did want to mention is the Linden Steuben intersection improvements. We had just received notice yesterday from the contractor that they want to begin on Monday. That will also be included in the Savvy social media posts going out tomorrow.
And they'll be starting with what work again? Because they're doing the concrete in 2 weeks, but what are they starting with right away?
Well, they're gonna start with like the foundation work.
The foundation, the
Work.
bases to the poles.
Correct.
So this is basically the new light poles that's Steuben and then.
Can you remind us where that came from? Just because it's been a while. Were these the ones that were delayed because there were backlogs in orders?
Yes.
Correct.
It's the grant too, so.
Yeah, this is partially funded with the PennDOT's Green Light Go grant. And no other questions. That concludes the engineer's report for this evening.
Great. Great. Can you guys hear me? You hear me?
I don't think your mic was on.
No, your mic's not working.
Steve's over.
I'll tell you what. Oh, there it is.
No way.
It's because they were left in there. We need to make sure we take them out.
Hello? That good? Can you hear me? Or you're not
Yeah,
sure?
that's much better. Yes.
All right, managers report. Mr.
Okay,
Price.
thank you. First up, the Trail Study Committee, we met, a subcommittee of the larger Trail Study Committee met on Monday to start reviewing and discussing how we're going to review the RFPs that we received. We did receive 9 RFPs for this project. And I've already received notes back from one of the members and hope to receive the rest of the notes back by Monday, and then we'll consolidate them. And then that same subcommittee will be meeting on the 24th to hopefully provide a final recommendation for council if they don't want to do any more interviews or due diligence at that point. And we'll probably bring a recommendation to council on the 27th if that moves forward as planned. The next thing on my agenda is we have scheduled to purchase a dump truck. Public Works was scheduled to have a dump truck number 109 replaced in 2024. We did not get that finished in 2024, so I'd like today to approve the purchase of a Ford F-550 dump truck and custom dump body from A&H for $127,000, $835. This purchase is part of a capital plan and was budgeted. There are 2 old trucks actually that will be sold through an online auction as once that truck is put into service. And if a trade is not an option, then we'll put an online auction. And this was budgeted in the capital plan, so it's part of the budget. So with that, I'd like to get a motion to approve the purchase of a new dump truck and custom dump body to replace truck 109 in the amount of $127,835 from A&H Equipment Company.
So moved.
Ms. Wollenbacher,
Second.
Ms. Compatello. Questions or discussion?
Jim, the budgeting that you mentioned for the capital plan, that was the 2024 or the 2025 capital?
Well, it's included in both capital plans because it's set up as a lease, so this will be paid for over the course of 3 years. But it was also in the 2025 budget. It was budgeted in both years because we knew we weren't going to be able to buy it by the end of the year.
Okay, thank you. That was my recollection. Just wanted clarification.
Yep.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay. The next item I have on my agenda is to purchase the Pitway trolley line property from Honeywell Corporation for $5,000. We've been working with them for a while, going back and forth on details. The solicitor has been working with that. And this will be completing the Baker's Acres property. So the borough will essentially own every piece of that now. There'll be no part of that property that is not owned by the borough. And we're going to be utilizing funds that were provided by anonymous donors. So this is at no cost to the borough. With that in mind, I would like a motion to approve the purchase of the Pitway trolley line property from the Honeywell Corporation for $5,000, utilizing funds provided by an anonymous donor.
So moved.
Mr. Chandler,
Second.
Ms. Comptello. Any questions or discussion?
Can you clarify where that piece is located in relation to streets?
Yes.
Because I think even in relation to Baker's Acres, just clarify where that is located and where this particular property is located at the
Yep,
along the way.
so this piece is the piece that starts at Woodlawn. And it is the actual trail itself, so it's a very narrow strip of land that runs from Woodlawn up to the set of stairs, essentially, I think is right where the break point is. I think it's Emerson there, the stairs on Emerson. And or Kingston, like, no.
It's Emerson.
It's Emerson. I couldn't remember which. But it's and it's just that narrow piece. It has been owned by the trolley company since they ran a trolley there in the 50s. And it basically has Duquesne Lights easements for all the light poles. So if you want to know exactly where it's at, where the light poles are, is essentially where that piece of property is. And that will complete the borough owning the entire thing. So is that narrow it down? Yeah.
When you mean the entire thing, you mean the Baker's Acres property that runs alongside of it?
Yeah, so basically from where basically right next to the coffee shop, all the way to Woodlawn, that entire property, from the hill, from where that set of stairs is, that slope, all the way down to the base of the busway, from end to end will be owned by the borough.
And right now, the borough owns Baker's Acres portion of it, but the Honeywell portion was owned by Honeywell.
Right, and we own the other portion of the Pitway trolley line. We own the portion closer to Fig Tree Coffee.
Mhm.
So the half of the trolley line is already owned by the borough, but the other half of the trolley line is not.
It would be good to put out a visual map annotating what we're talking about with,
Yeah.
the alignment of land that's now borough owned for trail use.
Yep.
I'd just like to say thank you to the United Stoner. That's incredibly generous. So thank you, whoever you are.
Very generous.
Mhm. Mhm. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay. The next thing I have on my agenda is a seasonal wage resolution. We do this every year before the seasonal employees start. This is resolution 2025-03, setting the wages for seasonal employees, including pool and public works staff. All changes were included in the 2025 budget, and really the only main change is an increase in the pool manager wage. All the other wages have remained the same and were not budgeted for. So with that, I'd like to approve resolution 2025-03, seasonal employee wages, a resolution setting wages for Crafton seasonal pool and public works staff.
So moved.
All right, Mr. Chandler,
Second,
Ms. Comptello. Any questions or discussion? I want to be clear too, it's seasonal public works. This does not set the public works staff. That's done by a union contract. All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay.
I have a
And then,
question
what,
on the first item that you mentioned.
trail study? Yes.
Sorry, just went quickly and I realized that you have a question here, kind of a two-header. The 9 RFP responses that were received, will those be shared with council?
Mhm.
And second, the subcommittee, I don't believe that's been discussed. Could you explain what the subcommittee is?
Sure. The subcommittee was decided by the trail committee itself, basically anybody who wanted to be a part of it. James and Greg are a part of it. There are 5 other people now. We added one person, Alan Beeler, Steve Krishenko, Reese Smith, Sarah Reeder, and somebody else that I'm slipping on who the last person was. But they're all part of that selection committee, and they're aware that they are not actually making the selection. They are making a recommendation to council because council is ultimately responsible for the choice. So that will be coming to council next week or next meeting, hopefully.
Will they be sharing a an approach for how things were evaluated?
Oh, yeah, I can share. We basically, we set up a matrix to score everything. So that everybody was using the same matrix. They are including notes, so council will have their notes. So you can figure out why so that someone can write why they scored it a given way. And it was weighted to really focus on public engagement and how that public engagement is interpreted. Are the two highest scoring ones, and then an implementation plan, I think, is the next highest level of score, and then the other ones are a little lower on that list. But I'll send the matrix to council so you guys can see how it's set up. And then Alan, who is also who was on that committee and is a planner, provided some additional information that was useful that I added in too as well. So, but I can send, there's a file. There's a what do you call it, a Google Drive that has all the information, so I'll give it to council so you guys can have time to review it before the next meeting.
All right.
Okay, one last thing.
Okay.
Yep.
Mhm.
And that is, and I meant to put it on the schedule today, but it's we did finally get the study back regarding, it's not really a study, it was the radar on Starrett Street. And the recommendations, and it even after moving it back closer to the stop sign, we did find that almost no one speeds on that road. They might accelerate quickly, but they don't actually break the speed limit. So it is, in fact, I think it's like 1.1% of vehicles exceed the speed limit in the course of 15,000 vehicles that were recorded. And less than 0.05% go over the 10-mile-an-hour threshold, 10-plus-mile-an-hour threshold, which is required if we're ever going to ticket them, because we're not allowed to, you can't ticket below that number. So it's not recommended to put speed bumps on it, really won't have much of a positive effect. There are some other recommendations on that memo. And that is basically keep the radar sign there periodically to display seed to add that awareness. Targeted police presence periodically, even though they probably won't catch anybody, just having them there can be helpful. And then there is one children's play sign there already, but we can add them throughout that road so that it's more of a presence to people that are driving on that road. And we're already looking into whether we have those signs in stock or whether that's something we'd have to buy. And then pedestrian improvements, such as enhanced side crosswalks. You can add like elevated crosswalks or something like that to improve that. But speed is not really the issue at this point.
So is there a white line in front of the
There
stop
is
sign?
not, but that is not in our borough, and
Oh.
we have sent them several messages, and I even asked Public Works if they would be willing to do it, but they informed me that if they did it, we would get a grievance from the city. So we can't just, I was thinking that we could just do it and see if we get away with it, but
Right,
it's not.
no, you don't want to do that.
So we have asked them several times. We've asked I have not reached out to Teresa Cal Smith, and I
I
need
was
to do
just gonna
that.
say, because
I need to do that.
that is the direction to go. To paint a white line would be very simple and
Exactly.
potentially could
Yep.
stop people from, or make people stop at that stop sign.
Yep. And again, this did not study how many people don't or do stop at that stop or roll through it. I mean, that's not something that we can analyze. But we have not, I don't know if they've posted people up there or not or caught anybody, but I haven't heard anything, so.
No, I'll
Yeah.
double check.
Yeah.
And just remind them.
Thanks.
Do you mind discussing briefly the reasons why installing speed bumps would not necessarily be a good idea?
Yeah, well, for several, it actually listed in the thing, and that is putting it can increase emergency response times by adding speed bumps. So unless they're needed, it's not recommended to do so. They create noise from vehicle deceleration and acceleration. Probably not as much of a problem because you already have two stop sign there. That's already happening. And they also cause, they're hard on vehicles. You don't ideally want to put them in unless they're required. And then they just increase our maintenance costs because we have to keep them repaired, and it can increase our cost for snow removal. over the long run, because it beats up, it can beat up your plows, if you don't lift before you get to them. So. Any other questions?
Any other questions for the? All right, community and economic development, Mr.
All right.
Dessler.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everybody. A few items to report upon, starting with the Planning Commission's Business Development Subcommittee chaired by Megan Winters and AJ Pescaric. There's a lot of excitement and energy around this committee. We keep getting inquiries to join. By my count, we have formally 7 members and there's 3 being discussed. And out of those potential 10 members of the committee, at least 4 of them are small business owners within Crafton. So we'll have great representation from the small business owners' perspectives. Just a quick reminder, some of the goals of the committee that have been kicked around are to help small businesses in town succeed. Try to energize downtown with new businesses and some sidewalk energy, and maybe even look at ways to modernize the shopping center a little bit. So those are really broad level things. And there's a lot of tactics associated with how to get all those things done. And that's the goal of the committee. The 10 people on the committee is to discuss all of those things and figure out a pathway forward. So their first meeting is on next Tuesday at 6 p.m. In the conference room. So more to come on that topic. Item B, the website. For those on the communications committee, I think you probably saw my email. Maybe by now I shot it out about three-ish hours ago for the updated website. We had one of the professionals at the platform we're working with, Munibit, polish the website at no cost to us. It is an improved website, and I think what you're seeing is the best version of what the platform has to offer. So take a look at it, and if we decide we don't like the platform, then we can move toward other options, or maybe we decide we do like the platform and we run with it. So more to come on that. Rental inspection ordinance, we have been in dialogue with the chief of the volunteer fire department, as well as our building official at the borough, about how to improve the rental inspection ordinance. I think we're all in agreement now. Steve is aware, I kicked it to him a couple business days ago, so he's going to review it another time. And then we're going to talk about ramping that public process back up for a council to consider the ordinance and potentially approve it. And then item D, the planning commission. Next planning commission meeting is March 25th at 6:30 p.m. All are welcome to the planning commission meetings. We have scheduled a public engagement event for all things zoning on April 2nd here in the community room. I believe we sent out a save the date for 6 p.m. that evening. Jim and I are working with a professional facilitator to help lead the conversation. I think that will be very helpful because it's a neutral third-party professional facilitator. So it'll be in all likelihood more effective than Jim and I leading that conversation that evening. We have gotten some good comments about structure and format for the meeting, so more to come on those topics as the days go by. Let's see, maybe a quick item E that's not on the agenda. A couple days ago, we got a formal subdivision application into the office. That doesn't happen much. It's for a minor subdivision, essentially to move a lot line to make room to construct a new home down on Ewing Avenue. We do have a very lengthy subdivision ordinance. Staff is reviewing the application and working with the applicants. Once the application is deemed administratively complete, then it kicks out to basically the whole world. So council will each get a copy of the application. Steve's office will get a copy. Engineer gets a copy. Allegheny County gets a copy. And everybody has a chance to review it, provide recommendations, and there's a whole lengthy process that needs to be followed pursuant to our subdivision ordinance.
And planning commission gets a copy.
Planning commission gets a copy. Thank you.
Will the
So
public get to see that?
public gets, yeah, it's public
Yes.
document.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
public document. And it looks like we're aiming for a preview of that application at the March 25th Planning Commission meeting. If all things being equal with timelines, essentially probably a May-ish consideration for council. We're thinking mid-May or so. A new subdivision application coming your way, kind of an unusual thing. And aside from that, I will end my report there. Thank you.
Can I ask a question about that? You said that this is to move a property line to allow for a new single family?
Correct.
Okay, just one?
Just one, yeah, it's a property that their mother owns, the neighboring property.
Ah,
And so that's why they're able to moving a lot line, you have to own both properties to move a lot line, so. They do own both properties, and so they're moving it between them, so they have more room to build where they want to build. They're in the conservancy, so you can only build where there's no slope.
right.
And so they wanted more room to be able to do that where they wanted to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep,
So it's not, I guess we're terming it as a subdivision, but it's a single family. It's not a subdivision.
well, it's still considered a subdivision process, even if you're not dividing a line, if you're moving any lot line, it's
Mhm.
considered a subdivision process.
Okay.
Because you're changing the division of properties.
Okay.
Right,
So
it just when,
Yeah, we probably need to be much more clear about that so that we know it's just somebody going to build a house.
Right. It's a lot that already exists, they're just shifting it.
Okay.
Yep,
right, because when we hear subdivision,
Right. that's-
we
yeah,
think
exactly
something
that
else.
thought, Yeah.
yep.
So I have a question, two questions. One is for the Business Development Subcommittee. There's been requests that you said that companies or small businesses are looking to join. Is there anything against having them all join and just letting them all be a part of the subcommittee?
Yeah, not at all, not at all.
Mhm.
In fact, I think that is the approach that AJ and Macon are taking to appointments.
Okay.
Particularly for small businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing is the structure of the meeting for the second. I made the comment at the last meeting that we have the big zoning draft. We need to educate people on it. So it's not just people coming and talking and everybody talking and nothing gets accomplished. Are we planning to go through sections of it to kind of talk about this is what this means in this section, whether it's 25 lot or whatever we're looking at, so that it's section by section and over time versus we're going to hop here, then hop here and hop here. The other thing for planning is, I mean, my recommendation is no more ads of different lot sizes or things that are just coming up all the time that seem to detract these meetings. We need to keep it, okay, here's where we are. Let's go through these subsections, get the public to buy in, or at least understand it, and then move forward. So I just see us like hopping all over the place with these things.
That's good. That's good feedback.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, thank you. All right, standing committee reports, Finance, Administration, Sustainability, Mr. Hof.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hello from afar, everyone. Not much to report this evening, but from a financial standpoint, the budget to actual numbers through the end of February will be reviewed at the upcoming committee meeting, and they will be reported on at the next council meeting. I'm going over a preliminary review of those now and preparing to give those to the committee for consideration meeting. So more at the next council meeting on that. And then in terms of administration, the police collective bargaining agreement, the current extension agreement that we have now expires at the end of this year, and we are preparing to begin negotiating a new agreement. So what's happening there, but that's about it for me. So let me know if there's any questions, but otherwise that's it.
Any questions for Mr. Hof? Very good, thank you, Mr. Hof. Infrastructure and land use, Ms. Compitello.
Yes, we've shared in some of our previous meetings that we did receive some grant funding to do an energy audit. These were funds received from the state, and that energy audit, which is being applied to our municipal buildings, has started in February. And then also at the last meeting, we announced that we are very happy to have received from the state, also from DCED, a $325,000 grant. This was a little bit unexpected because it was a very last minute grant that we found out about and put in a grant application. It requires no match. And this is grant funding that we can use to improve pedestrian safety and pedestrian experience in our downtown area, which is down around the Borough building, down around the fire station, what we all consider to be the kind of more of the central core Main Street area of our downtown. Because the grant application was put together very, very quickly when we heard, I think with like a 2-week turnaround that these funds were available and it required no match. We put in some rough ideas for what Main Street or what our Main Street downtown area could benefit from, largely pulling from discussions that had been had previously through the comprehensive plan and through planning commission meetings, but very loose ideas. So the infrastructure committee discussed at our meeting earlier this week how to proceed with using this. And we did get less than we asked for. We're still happy we got anything. We really thought it was a bit of a long shot. $325,000 is a fair amount. We can only use a small portion of that for planning though. So it is primarily for construction and that amount of funding will go fairly quickly with construction. So given that it's less than we asked for, we are going to have some committee discussions about what are some of the ideas that would reach up to around that $325,000 amount, and then bring those to council to have some more discussion about what are our options that might fit within that budget. So some more steps to take before we make any decisions, but that's where we're at, where we're looking at what are the kinds of things that we can afford within that kind of funding, and then we'll bring that to council in the next few meetings. I know we have a lot on the agenda next time, so more to come.
Thank you.
We also talked about potentially having some public input, but we really don't know. We really don't know yet what'll even be on the table. It may be that $325,000 will be entirely spent with painting a few crosswalks. I don't know. We haven't done that yet. So more to come for both council and for the community once we figure out what we can fit within that funding and have some options to discuss. That's all for me.
Okay. Communication recreation, Ms. Bolenbacher.
Thank you. First off, we have a community mixer on Saturday, March 29th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. here in the community room. That's for all the local community groups, boards that are part of the community like our boards, CIT, things like that. The purpose of it is just to get a community calendar together. So all the groups know what all the other groups are doing. Hopefully we can do a little helping each other out type deal. And that sort of thing. It's really just to kind of share and swap ideas and volunteers and just kind of get people a little more involved with the community as a whole rather than just their own group. So you're welcome to go if you'd like. After that, we have our cleanup and shred event in conjunction with our community cleanup day. That's going to be Saturday, April 12th. The cleanup and shred event will be from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. You can come in, shred any paperwork you don't want to just throw away. As well, there's a medicine take back, and there will be dumpsters available to get rid of household items, small items, things like that. No electronics, nothing hazardous, but small pieces of junk you'd like to get rid of. The community cleanup portion, the cleanup and shred event will be in the park. That's where you'll find the dumpsters and things like that. The community cleanup portion is from 9 a.m. to 12. It'll start at the Borough building. Supplies will be provided. The idea is to kind of help just clean up the neighborhood. It's spring, the snow is melting. There's stuff that was hidden that we can now get rid of. So if you want to help out and clean up Crafton a little bit, everybody's welcome. And again, supplies will be provided. You just have to show up and make sure you're wearing weather appropriate clothing. Saturday, April 26th at 10 a.m. we have our Arbor Day celebration in Crafton Park. We're recognizing our 36th year as a Tree in the USA neighborhood. And we're also going to dedicate a newly planted oak tree to Betsy Martin. If you all don't know, she was a very long time standing community member. She literally wrote the book on Crafton. She was also very, a book. She was also very involved in the Shade Tree Commission and many other things throughout her time here. So we are going to thank her with planting a tree in her name. The next community event would be Saturday, May 17th. That's our community garden 10th anniversary party. From 12 to 1, we're going to have a cocktail hour. That's going to have hors d'oeuvres, sangria, and live music. A ticket is required for that portion of the day. They're gonna be $25 per person. They're gonna be $20 for seniors. You can purchase your tickets on the Borough website. And then from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, there's free activities for anybody who would like to join. We're gonna have some garden tours, cooking and seed sowing demonstrations. And we're gonna have some other family-friendly activities. Again, that 1 to 4 is free to the public. Whoever wishes to come, please join us. Other like continuing upcoming events, we always have our, let's see, where am I at here? Actually, I apologize. The upcoming events that we have coming up throughout the year. We have Friday, July 4th, which is of course our Independence Day celebration. Saturday, September 27th is our Fall Fest. Saturday, December 6th is our Celebration of Lights, and Sunday, December 14th is our Holiday House Tour. I'll have more details with all of those as they get a little closer. Our ongoing monthly events, every Saturday, we have our Coffee, Creativity, and Community at the library. We have that on Saturdays from noon to 3, with the exception of this upcoming Saturday, because the library is currently closed. They're getting some new carpets put in. So after this Saturday, then it will be every Saturday moving forward from 12 to 3. Mondays at 6:30, we have yoga in the library. Tuesdays at 11 a.m., we have story time at the library with Miss Gabrielle. The last Wednesday of every month is our book club. You can go to the library and pick up the choice of the month prior to that Wednesday. Every second Thursday of the month from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., we have a card making workshop. And at the second Friday of the month, we have our dinner at the library, where basically it is a conversational cookbook club. You go ahead of time, you get recipes from a particular cookbook. You take one of the recipes, you make that recipe, bring it in, and you eat food and talk about the book. And as always, Rec Board is always looking for volunteers. Even if you can just spare 1 or 2 hours of your time, you don't even have to pick when. You just can email them, let them know that you might be interested in volunteering throughout the year, and they'll send you emails. They'll let you know when they need volunteers, how long they need them for, and you can pick and choose. You can say, yep, I'll help out. No, thank you, maybe next time. So please go to the website and let them know you would like to help. Our current newsletter should be in your mailboxes this week. And we, I believe, already put requests out for our next newsletter articles. That one is scheduled to be distributed sometime in May. As we get closer, I'll give you a better idea on when to expect it. Unless anybody's questions, that's it.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Bollenbacher. Board Commissions Recruiting, Ms. Comptello.
All right, well, our current open positions, as always, all of our positions are listed on the website, craftonborough.com/commissions. You can apply through that site. And you can also see all current openings, upcoming openings, and all positions with the date that they will be expiring, even if it's far out. So currently we have Civil Service Commission. There are 2 alternate seats open. These are 6-year terms, expiring February 1st, 2029. We are hoping that we'll have people who are interested in stepping up to serve with our Civil Service Commission, so please do apply. The Planning Commission also has a new vacancy. This is due to the resignation we mentioned earlier, Councilmember Mr. Radilla. He was also a Planning Commission member, so he has resigned also from the Planning Commission. His seat expires on April 13th, 2026. So due to his resignation, that seat is open for anyone who would like to fill out, to apply, and they would be applying to fill the remainder of that term through 2026. And then third, we have a Shade Tree Commission position. This is a 5-year term that begins on April 1st, 2025. That seat will become open. So applications are currently open and being accepted for all of those. Upcoming positions also, the Planning Commission has 2 additional terms that will be expiring soon, and those seats will be opening. So 2 4-year terms will become open on April 14, 2025. And a Zoning Hearing Board position, we have 1 3-year term and 1 alternate seat. Both will become available on January 1st of 2026. So if you're interested in those, the planning commission ones are coming up soon. So applications can be accepted. The zoning hearing board, if you're interested, just keep an eye on that. Could apply anytime, but we're not going to be filling that one until it comes closer to its expiration date in 2026. And that is all for the boards and commissions recruiting.
Thank you, Ms. Comptello. Council of Governments, Ms. Wollenbacher.
Just that our next meeting will be next Thursday, March 20th at 6:30 PM in Crescent, PA. If anybody would like to join me, let me know.
Thank you. All right, some community announcements. Our next council meeting is 2 weeks, March 27th at 7 o'clock. Summer employment, the last day to apply is actually tomorrow by 4 o'clock for any seasonal positions. And these are our lifeguards, the seasonal public works ones, the ones we talked about with the wage resolution. So make sure to get those applications in before the 14th, which is tomorrow. Crafton Library closure. So March 7th through the 15th, the Crafton Library is closed. They are doing carpet replacement. They can still do pickups of books, and you can call them if you have any questions. All scheduled programs will be held in the community center. Coffee, creativity, and community will be canceled on March 15th, as Ms. Wollenbacher had said. Room reservations will be honored, but no additional reservations will be taken from the 7th through the 22nd. Anybody else have anything to add?
I do have one more thing,
Yep.
and this is something I just neglected earlier. I'm tired, it slipped my mind, but it's important to give credit where credit's due. We talked about that DCED grant, $325,000, and that we weren't particularly, we did not have high hopes that we would get it. I just want to really say thank you to Mr. Tedesco and to Mr. Price, because it is very, very unusual. It is remarkable to get a grant that we had such little notice on and turned around in such a quick timeline. And so it's really remarkable that we were successful, and that's because a very good application was put together. So I wanted to highlight that and say thank you.
I would also like to echo that statement and also say that of the other local communities that received funding as well, we actually received a majority funding. And I think that's also a reflection of the heart of the borough manager and Mr. Tedesco. So thank you.
Anybody else have anything? Okay, public comments. At this time, citizens may address the Crafton Borough Council on any issue. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Crafton will be permitted to address council. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before the council, who may speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Council has the option to respond or not at the end of the address. The solicitors are assigned timekeeper. Please state your name and physical address for the record. So for everybody here, you would just raise your hand. Mr. Wozniak. And then we will go on Zoom.
Greg Wozniak, 1773 Bar Avenue.
Yeah, make sure.
First one up needs to check out.
It's working good. It's working good.
The blue light?
Green light, it should be green.
You're good. They said they can.
Blue and green.
Okay, thanks. Oh, okay, great, thanks.
All right. Anyway, I only have two questions for the public engagement on April 2nd. Who is the facilitator?
It's either gonna be,
Let's let him go through.
yeah,
the-
I'll let you finish.
Okay, the facilitator, and also when will the format, the detailed format and structure of the meeting be finalized and shared with the public? How soon before the meeting will that happen? And I'll wait for my answer.
Yep. Sorry, yeah, he had said, I thought he was done. It will either be Christine Mondor from Evolve, which is actually one of the firms that applied for the trail study as well. And we've worked with them in the past. They actually helped facilitate a meeting earlier last year. If she is not available, which is not clear whether she's going to be at this point, it will be Jenny Easton from who was the facilitator at the last the big public engagement in February of 24, and she was a sub on, they were a sub on Pashik LLC, which is who she works for, was a sub on that, on the zoning project. And then as far as format,
Yeah, but we need to discuss that with the facilitator. We're open to feedback. If you have, preferences, absolutely. I mean, send us an email. We're gonna talk with council about it, planning commission about it, commit, so it's still wide open.
but we do hope to get it out there at least 2 weeks ahead of the meeting.
Yeah.
So it's probably by next week, we gotta let it out there. Yep.
Can I just add, thank you for sharing those names. Pashik is also the firm that did our comprehensive plan.
Evolve, is Christine here as Evolve?
What's that?
Christine here is as Evolve.
Yeah, Christine Mondor is from Evolve EA. Correct.
All right. Crystal.
Thank you. Crystal Beam with 57 Belvedere Street. I'm sorry, I can't talk today. With all the sewer separation projects going on and just walking around Crafton, I had called the borough and I had addressed a question for Mr. Price regarding something that was talked about at the last meeting. I believe the engineer's report said something about eminent domain on Broadhead. And I wanted to know if you can explain where the eminent domain was taking place, because there's a lot of flags and things going on down there and the residents don't seem to know what's happening. I do have another
Yeah, go
question
ahead.
then. Again, this relates to the sewer separation, which was a topic tonight. On our sewer bills, and obviously I'm not a norm, I'm a family of 5, but we average anywhere from 7 to 10 to 13,000 gallons a month that I'm billed for. So I pay attention to my bills, but unfortunately I do an e-bill on the sewage. So I don't really see what I'm paying. Well, recently I decided to take a look at that, and there's an $11.92 charge that Alcosan charges for the processing of the sewage, plus they have a sewage service fee. Well, then Crafton Borough charges also $11.92, which it appears on their website on Alcosan that boroughs can charge what they want. So we charge $11.92 also for sewage, and then we have a $3.67 processing fee. So I just kind of played with some numbers, and I looked at 3,300 units in Crafton, and I looked at about 1,400 single-family residences and just kind of played with some numbers. Not even looking at businesses, laundromats, which we have 2. Apartment buildings. I did do an assessment on apartment buildings. That's a substantial amount of income. And I'm just kind of wondering, how does the borough use all of that money? I mean, we're talking millions of dollars. Where is it going?
Is that everything? Okay. For the easements, when you're putting a project in like Broadhead, where we're going through several people's yards, you have to either attain an easement from that property owner to allow you to build that line, or if they will not provide you an easement, and we've worked with them, we only had one property owner who would not provide us an easement without charge. They wanted to charge us a pretty exorbitant amount of money to do that. So we got the value of that easement assessed, and we found out it was about $4,000, I think, in that range, and they weren't willing to do it for less than $30,000. So we decided to take them to eminent domain, and essentially it's just for the permission to build a sewer line under there. They'll never see it. The only time they'll ever deal with it is if someone has to come back in and fix it. And so that is why we did eminent domain, and it's not eminent domain of a property, it's just eminent domain of the ability to
use it. So you're not
To
going to
use it.
widen the road and take out the sycamore tree then?
No.
Okay,
No.
that was my question, because it is a tight turn when you come down Park Street or Warren, whichever the hill is there. Okay, so that answers that question.
Yep.
And that's it. It's not taking over their property. It's the usage of it, and then they still keep the property.
Thank you.
Correct. And
It's a
then,
scary term though, eminent domain.
yep. And then for the sewer funds, we receive, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think it's approximately $1.5 million from payments. And that goes to all of in fact, you saw the, I don't know if we haven't talked about it today, but we have, in fact, oh yeah, we did actually.
We did.
So
We did.
the
So
bid,
O&M.
so just the repairs for 10% of our of our sewer lines this year was $700,000, $750,000. And that's 1 year, 1/10 of the borough's repairs. Plus, you pay public works with that money. We pay for the dump truck. We typically pay for at least one dump truck with that money. But also we are paying back the bond fund for this $20 million worth of investment that we've put in over the last 5 years in our sewers. Because we're a combined sewer system and we've had to separate from a combined sewer system, that money is being used to pay that off. We do have one of the higher sewer rates in the region, and that is because we have one of the oldest systems in the region. Luckily, with all this investment, we will have one of the newer systems in the thing, but we're going to be paying off that investment for the next 20 years.
So you're saying that the income is about 1.5 million?
I think that's approximately what it is. I don't have it in front of me, but
It just seems low. I mean, I just kind of did an assessment based on my usage and said, okay, if we had maybe every family residential using 5,000 gallons, I use 7,200 to 13,000 sometimes.
Yep.
That would be about $88,000 per month.
I can show you the numbers.
Which would be over about 1.06 million. So it just seems high. And then that's not even looking at apartments and businesses. So I was just kind of curious. It seemed like an awful lot of income. And I know we get Verizon and Comcast as well. So I was just hoping it was being reported and spent.
Yeah, and it's actually on the website, so you'll see it on the bills.
Yes.
Another thing is we get an annual Elkison bill, and I'm going to be looking at after the meeting tonight, which is millions of dollars that we have to pay just to Elkison. And the borough owns all the sewers. So unlike the other utilities where Duquesne Light and everything owns those, we own all the sewers. So all the maintenance and everything associated with the sewers, that's on Crafton. So that's why even the sewer projects, the liners, we have a lot of sewers collapsing. We're continually talking, so we can either build in liners or repair it. And sometimes, like we did on Johnston, we have to dig the whole sewer out. And there's an exorbitant amount of cost for that, but we have to maintain the source. We're responsible. Everybody is as a borough.
You can find all these numbers. They are right. They're right on the budget. Yeah, you can go in the sewer lines and where it has, there's one that in the income, it'll say payments, and that's exactly what Crafton pays. Crafton residents estimated to pay because obviously just like yours fluctuates, imagine 3,300 properties, they all fluctuate too. So we're never exactly clear what 1 year is going to, yield, but it's on there and it shows exactly what we take in every year. And for the last, I think it has it recorded all the way back to 2016.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Right, James?
Yes, James Mangan, Starrett Street. Quick question. The interviews for the council position, are all those questions the same questions for each candidate? Or does it vary? Is it like subjective based on who the candidate is? That's it.
Okay. Yeah, so what will happen again, just like we've done in prior years, is the person will be able to 5 minutes of their time. They can say whatever they want. Then council will already have the applications of everybody because they're all sent to council whenever people apply. So then any questions that council has based on that person's background, whatever, so they're going to be different. It's not going to be like we're going to ask every candidate, why'd you grow up here? How long have you been? It's all going to be on the application. So it'll be relative to what you said, plus your application there. So there isn't a list of those questions. It's just more of the questions that the candidates have. Anybody else in the room? Mr. Marks.
Hello, Justin Marks, 31 Oregon Avenue. Two quick things. About the open seat. I know that we've had to do this, council has had to do this twice since 2021. If I recall, at least one other time, maybe both times, inevitably things come up for folks. So I hope and encourage everybody to consider maybe more than one in-person meeting for the interviews, because I can tell you that there will probably be a conflict for somebody. The second one, what was the second one about? Oh, the second one, I wanted to just let everybody know and let the community know. I'm in talks with both the library and Fig Tree Coffee. I'm hoping to arrange come meet the candidates and current council mayor folks sometime before the primary elections in May. That invite will be extended to anybody who is currently sitting or is running. No dates or times or anything worked out yet, but still waiting for more information around who filed papers and stuff. So keep your eye out there. And if anyone has any questions in here or online, feel free to reach out. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Marsh. Anybody else? All right, online, please raise your hand.
Cody?
Okay, Mr. Sheets.
You should be live, Cody. Oh, hang on one second.
I'm sorry. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to express my support for a single family build. I don't think subdivisions, like I own 2 subdivided properties, one's completely vacant. So I don't think subdivisions need to be like manufactured fear in any way for residents. I understand why it's mentioned, but you know, it just the fear for it is unnecessary. It's only when we talk about like subdividing lots and then putting like, you know, 25 feet wide lots in that people start to get concerned. I'm curious why the borough hasn't created a citizen engagement committee, but you've created a business development committee. Mr. President, you said that you would put a citizen engagement committee on the next agenda when I first brought it up, and then you never did that. And then concerns were brought up by you about how a committee aimed at citizen engagement would function within the borough, and you had concerns about only committee members who were residential members having a say or opinion, but we're willing to let administrators search for businesses outside of the borough to have a say in Crafton. And like your words are, get the public to buy in. Are we more concerned about businesses' interests rather than those who reside in Crafton? Or are you really willing to create a committee to involve all businesses, but not be willing to create a committee that engages your residents who live here? It just doesn't make any sense. It's as easy as a vote from either you or the planning commission, and it just hasn't happened. I'm in support of these engagements that you have scheduled. However, when Mike got here and was asked to change or make recommendations to changes of this zoning draft in April of 2024 until now, this is only the second engagement meeting that's been attempted by council. And how do you expect, like you talked about all the things that have been added to the list, like how do you expect citizens to understand what's going on within this draft when in nearly a year you've only engaged the citizens twice, and you do it in a couple hours when you could really simply just have a committee or a subcommittee that's made up of residents of at least at least 7 to 8, maybe a dozen or more, like based on zoning or I mean wards rather. How the old wards worked, but I just don't understand how we can like engage businesses and do all this and be so dedicated to that, but you don't want to engage your own citizens. It doesn't make sense. You're in control of the agenda. You said you'd put it on the agenda and you never did. And I'm just wondering why. Thanks.
Okay, I'll address that. First, it absolutely was on the next agenda, and you can look at the tape, you can look at the agenda. It was on there. We were waiting for Nicole Currian to produce the project because she had suggested during a meeting that she was going to produce this long report that was going to support why we should have this committee. She did produce one for the Planning Commission, which the Planning Commission did address. No report was ever given to council. We had it on 2 agendas since then, and it died. We didn't know the background of it, what it was looking for. I think, and some of the comments were made about engaging the citizens on the planning side. There's been lots of planning commission meetings where citizens can come and talk about that, and that's a decision by the planning commission. That's not a decision by me personally or by any of the council. There were other subjects that brought up, but I don't know if anybody else in council wants to mention anything about it, but I take this very personally and don't appreciate false truths being thrown out there.
I just wanted to also add the zoning status has been going through the planning commission according to state processes and state laws. It has been openly talked about in publicly available planning commission meetings for all of those months at every one of their scheduled meetings. And our planning commissioners who are volunteers have been putting an enormous amount of time in to running those meetings and reviewing the materials in between. So this is not something that has been paused and handled only within the borough. It has been within the hands of the planning commission and has had borough support in the background to address comments in between planning commission meetings and take them back to those planning commission meetings in open sessions. And I want to thank our planning commissioners who have put in so many hours of time, far more than I know that anyone expected they would have to, and they've been really dedicated in offering that time. And again, just wanted to echo, those have been public meetings every month.
All right. Anybody else? All right, please raise your hand on Zoom. Seeing none, meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.